Oh, hey, didn't see you there. You see, I've been trying to get better at gatekeeping lately, and I figured out the best way to do that is to tell people what is and isn't anime. You see, everyone wants to know, oh, where do you draw the line? Physically, right here. On this side, we have all of our shows that are like anime, but not, you know, Teen Titans, Avatar, Rwby, the Weather Channel. And over here, we have all the shows that we can agree are anime, you know, Naruto, Fullmetal Alchemist, Blue Exorcist, Rwby. Wait a second. Rwby's a web series animated by Rooster Teeth, and almost 10 years later, hey, we have an anime series. I have full intentions to go more into detail some other time, but Rwby is a series that's been around. From being in a crossover game, getting multiple mangas, but I feel like there's always been the floating question of when it would get a proper anime treatment. And just earlier this year, the question was answered with I don't know, give me a few months. Okay, but not a day more. The original pitch was for a side series animated traditionally in around 2013 to 2014 from Monty Ohm, the original creator, to the company Good Smile. While we're unsure that if the pitch is connected to Ice Queendom, it took a while to happen. It was eventually spearheaded by Gen Urobuchi, who has plenty of experience in the anime sphere with help on Psycho Pass 1, 2, Fate Zero, and well, a decent list of other stuff, which is noteworthy because it came out that Ice Queendom was canon adjacent to the main series. Canon adjacent? Well, straighten it up, we need to fire back! I had to look it up, but canon adjacent means it basically hits roughly the same beats, but with just something a little extra. Especially if it covering volume 1 and 2, and a little bit after 2 with a completely original story. But for a part of the duration of the series, it is going to be covering pre-established material, which gives an easy way to compare it to the original. I'm reasonable when it comes to adaptations. I just want everything better in every single way, but they're not allowed to change anything. But the experience has to be different, because, I mean, come on, if it's exactly the same, why would I watch it again? Which leads up to the point where we are at now. The first 3 episodes came out on Crunchyroll ahead of the official release this season, and it covers the entirety of Volume 1. And in that is very capitalized, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. I want to break down the show as someone who's very familiar with the already existing series, and I want to approach it from the angle of someone who's never seen Rwby before. Yeah, they have no idea that I just want to be able to complain twice as much without seeming hypocritical. Oh, hey, didn't see that. You heard nothing. First things first. The 2D art style honestly suits the series really well. Rwby has had its own fair share of art styles, and this fits snugly as another good example of that category. It starts interestingly as well. In the original, we started out at the dust shop in Ice Queendom. We get sequences from 2 of the trailers and an explanation of why Rwby was in the dust shop. It's nice to have some context for some of those moments. Why would someone go to a dust shop? Like, are they trying to sneeze? The animation? Well, it sure is animated. While it isn't perfect, neither was the original, so you know what? Let's just say it's sticking to the source material there. That said, the fighting animation is amazing here. It's just as fluid as you would want it to be with the proper lighting and set dressing. It's just stellar. But you can't say that about all of the animation. There isn't much I can say, but I mean, I get it. A budget is a thing, but an explanation doesn't make you ignore a flaw. But anyway, this isn't just an adaptation though, through and through. While keeping a pin in new content for now, some events are reshuffled or positioned differently or removed to make it feel more fluid. And put Rwby Ice Queendom in a cup, and it does feel fluid. Instead of having a sleepover at Beacon and then loading them up to fling them off a cliff, they skip the sleepover and get to the fling. And it does make sense, and who the f*** is that? Oh my, pardon my manners. Whom the fuck? This is where it really starts to pivot, and coincidentally, where my problems show up. I have nothing against new characters showing up, it opens new possibilities, and while I do like to see Volume 1 and 2D animated, if I wanted to watch those volumes again, I would simply watch Rwby again. But why did they have to make this new character, Xian Saiden, stick out so much? Don't get me wrong, it's a cool design, but really out there for Rwby. I mean, there are only 3 episodes so far, so I guess context can be given. But it looks like an OC that was just edited in. I mean, come on. Who knows what Rwby characters look like better? Me? Or a company that's working directly with the company that owns the property? I'll let you decide. I do think what they add, which is lore for the Nightmare Grim, is really interesting, could open up something unique for the series, so I'm open for that. But now I do have some gripes that are harder to write off than just me being confused or not waiting for the proper context. Like, the main thing I noticed was the music was a lot weaker than in the original. The songs by Casey and Jeff Williams are legendary. Even people who've dropped out of the series still listen to both new and old OST for its unique but perfect vibe for Rwby. And the songs that are put in its place just just don't fit that bill. One of my favorite scenes for Volume 1 was because of the song used in the background, and the music in Ice Queendom is fine. I don't know, legality is a bitch, but I feel like there could have been some way to at least give similar music. Maybe a few seconds that sound like a certain song or anything. I don't think any of those are actually technically crimes. If I had to say one thing though that I genuinely believe is a negative and not just preference or nitpicking, is that the writing, especially for the characters, feels so very lacking. The original was full of so many small funny moments. It didn't define the series, but it helped each character establish themselves and their personalities. Rwby's reaction when the robber says that they're trying to rob her, when Weiss smugly says, "Can I?" when she gets ready to launch Rwby for her plan and Rwby has to ask her to clarify. You know, explaining small comedic moments makes it a lot less funny, but these small funny moments are cut in place of more honest exchanges between characters. Rwby just immediately hits the robber. Rwby talks about wanting to prove herself to Weiss. It just feels like it drains some of the identity from these characters, and it does happen to most of them. When I say I want funny, I'm not afraid to cry until I get funny. And even some of the physical jokes are gone, like Jean getting speared away from Weiss. It's just such small moments that serve as a punchline to casual scenes that get scrapped so these scenes feel incomplete. And the same is said for moments that aren't comedic. I felt like Team Rwby climbing from the fallen rubble was very telling of the characters in the original show. That is almost completely cut in this one, and yes, I will use that baseless claim of my own opinion as validation that these characters are getting scrubbed. While these characters were given some traits, they end up having to lose character. And it doesn't help that the dialogue comes off as really awkward and unnatural. And almost every friendship establishing scene was also cut. Like we never see how Jean became friends with his team or Team Rwby or anything of a similar sort. It just feels off. I don't know if that's the case for new time watchers as well, or just me who has watched these volumes a lot, but I'm up for change. It's just that I would rather things be added than removed. But that serves into my next point. Who is this show for? New fans or old fans? I feel like this expression shows that I'm not sure of the answer. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm all for a property being remade for the sake of a new audience. I am also for a property being remade for the sake of the fans, or both of these demographics. Whatever is whatever, as long as it's well made. Now my question is, which camp is Ice Queendom for? No, this isn't a hypothetical, I literally don't know. It's a new unique story that has never been seen anywhere else, but it's meant to fit into pre-established canon. It rewrites character personalities to be a little bit smoother, I guess, but it skips or really shortens vital information, especially near the end of Volume 1. Final results are in. I think neither. Ice Queendom's really weird because it acts like you don't know anything about Rwby, laying down a fair amount of groundwork and context, even more than the original show did. But then it also just assumes you know characters became friends because they were friends in the original and they're the only characters on screen together. It also assumes the believable character development that happened off screen still happened the same way. It's a mixture of too thorough and not thorough enough in such a bizarre way that I don't know if I should suggest this to fans of Rwby or people who've never watched the series, or just tell people ignore it altogether. Rwby Ice Queendom is a show that shows a lot of promise and I have full intentions of following it. I mean, come on, I can't not see it as an anime. But I can't deny the weak sides that it's shown in the first 3 episodes. Maybe it will get better. Maybe once it hits the original content, it will find its stride, or the next episodes will fix the issues I have in these. Or who knows, it might even sink harder. Regardless, I like it enough to keep watching it, and if anything I said either interests you, failed to steer you away, I do recommend it. I mean, I'm at least having a good time. Well, I learned a lesson in gatekeeping that I won't soon forget. If someone proves you wrong, just pretend you always agreed with them. I mean, come on, the other channel is obviously anime. Have you seen the art style?